Hi everyone, welcome to the Witching Week. Today is episode number 91. We're finally moving into October this week. I know many of you are excited about that, so we can finally get excited about Samhain. We're going to be looking at that. We're going to be looking at the energy of October. We're going to be looking at something I've been watching this week, and we're going to be talking about words and what they mean to us. So grab a cup of tea, put some incense on, get comfy, and we'll explore the Witching Week. Hi everybody, welcome back. Thank you for being here, thank you for watching. I'm Wren, I'm known as the Cemetery Witch, and every Friday we get together for a cup of tea and a bit of a chinwag. We talk about the turn of the wheel and the seasons and what's been going on in the week and what's to come, witchy or otherwise. How are you all doing? How has your week been? We're here again, it flies around so quickly. I say it every single week, but it's just crazy. We are entering October this week. I cannot believe that. I've sort of been marvelling at the fact that we're in September, and at one point we've just moved into September, and then the next point we're on the 27th of September. So that has gone in an absolute blink of an eye. It's been the quickest month ever. So we have nearly arrived in October. So what is October? It was the 8th month in the calendar of Romulus, and it's now the 10th month in the Gregorian calendar, and it was the 10th month in the Julian calendar as well. At the full moon in October, the Anglo-Saxons considered the move into winter, so they actually called October Winterfylleth. I don't know if I've pronounced that correctly, but certainly this was a really important time to them. They considered this to be that step into the darker, colder, more difficult part of the year, certainly. I think most of us associate October with autumn, don't we, really? Perhaps more than September, and I also associate it with it being a bit drier than September. I think September can be a bit rainy, and certainly when we have warm days in September they tend to feel quite humid, but October's colder, it's drier, it's crisper, in my head anyway, and so when we do have some warm weather in October, it tends to be really quite pleasant. I really love October. I always get excited about October. I always dread the turn from summer into autumn, even though it's a beautiful, beautiful time of year. But I always dread it a bit, and I always dread September, and I don't know why that is, because that's when I sort of start worrying about winter. But then we get to October and I guess I'm thinking, well, that hasn't been so bad so far. Oh, it's Samhain this month, you know, so then I start to sort of enjoy October, and then we have that quiet lull in November, don't we, and then everything kind of goes a bit crazy again. It becomes silly season as we head towards Yule and Christmas and all those other festivals of light that we have at that time of year. The birthstones for October, I wrote them down, are tourmaline, which I didn't know, and opal, which I did know. My daughter was born in October, so I do love opals because I associate them with her. Apparently it is the seasonal equivalent of April in the southern hemisphere. So yeah, we are in April. Well, we're not in there just yet, we've got a few more days, but yes, it's the seasonal equivalent of April for the southern hemisphere. And what else can we say about October? Well, there's the obvious, isn't there? Samhain. That's the one thing I think that everybody kind of really gets excited about, that and the change of colour in the trees. We're already seeing that, but there's so much more of it, isn't there, in October. That is the time where we truly see autumn's beautiful colours, and that tends to be sort of like mid to late October. So we can officially get excited about Samhain now, I think, now that we're nearly there. I know lots of people were getting excited about Samhain in August and July, and in the whole scheme of things it's not really that far away from those months, but I still felt like we were very much in that summer energy and wanted to stay there. But now, right at the very end of September, I feel like we can actually really, really get excited about Samhain. And I'm really, really looking forward to October on Patreon. So let me tell you a little bit about that before we move on to today's topics. So I decided to set myself the task of making October an absolutely bumper month. I mean, for a start, there's loads of incredible topics and spooky things and fun things, but it's also a really beautiful, profound time, isn't it, for us pagans? Samhain is considered to be probably the most important Sabbath out of them all. Many hold it as their favourite. Many enjoy it because it's also their favourite time of year. And so really I wanted to create a bit of a gift. I know that obviously it's a paid membership platform, and you know, the people that have joined up are paying, but ultimately there is a limit usually as to how much I can put on there each month. But I wanted to create a bumper edition for Samhain, as it is such a special and important time, and there's just so much to explore. So I think I've outdone myself. I'm adding new bits all the time because I've got some spooky stories coming in, but so far we've got a 4-part series on past lives. So it's the story of Brian and Joseph, who have never met each other, and we're talking 2 people 75 years apart that are sort of united through an awful tragedy. So we hear the story of Brian and his past life memories and how that affects his day-to-day life and how that affects his family as well, his wife Naomi. So very interesting. I absolutely cannot wait to share that. And also I'll be sharing, you know, the story of the tragedy that has linked these 2 men, and yeah, we're really delving into that. So I'm really excited about that. I've got a vegan soul cakes recipe for you guys. This is a recipe that my husband absolutely loves. There is a ritual feast and lots of information on dumb suppers, or you can call them silent suppers, so that you can hold your own at Samhain this year if you don't know about those already. We have a community ancestor altar. We have an ancestor kitchen connection ritual. My memory's not very good today. I've worked so hard this week, so I'm very much reading off my notes today. We have got tons of unusual, weird and spooky stories. I will be sharing a couple of my experiences. I'm going to record those, but I've got some written experiences as well. There is a story of someone who believes they had a fae experience, which was very weird. We've got divination, we've got folklore, we've got printable grimoire sheets, we've got Samhain activities. We have got so much practical stuff this month. I'm really excited about it. So if you fancy joining a safe, friendly community of all abilities and ages, and you would like a video lesson on witchcraft each month, then come over to our Patreon and have a little look at what I'm offering. It's going to be so much fun this month, and hopefully you will have had a look. I've put some images up on screen. You will have had a look at just some of the things I'm offering this month. It is very exciting indeed. So tell me how your week has been. What has this week been like? Has it been busy for you? What does the end of September mean to you? Are you getting in that headspace for Samhain? Or I suppose it would be Beltane down in the Southern Hemisphere. Let me know what your plans are, what you've been doing, just how things are for you. I would love to hear. I did take Wednesday off this week because my brain just got to a point where I just couldn't anymore. So I did some crocheting, and I've been watching something which I shall tell you about in a moment. I'm still trying to get ahead of the curve a little bit. I am trying to get October done so that I can start to think about December. So November will probably be a bit of a quieter month, just all round in my witchy life. And then December, obviously things are going to hot up again. It's a big month for everyone, isn't it? So it's my hubby's birthday tomorrow. Actually, I must mention this before I forget. It's my other half's birthday tomorrow, the 28th. So happy birthday to him. That's an exciting thing to look forward to this week for us. But yeah, this week I've just taken some time off. I'm definitely feeling that need to do quiet, sort of reflective, activities, things that are going to keep me warm. So on Wednesday I did some crocheting. I've managed to find a very simple pattern that even I can do. It did take me a while to get going. Thank you to Nikki, who sent me this amazing, hang on, let me hold her up, this amazing positive potato, which is really cute and actually looks like it's been crocheted itself. So Positive Potato says, I may be a tiny potato, but I believe in you, go do your thing. So I've had that on the side all week. I've been looking at him and his cute little face, and that's massively been keeping me going this week, so thank you. I tried to work late last night, but I had to stop because my chest hurt, my heart hurt. But yeah, I've been doing my thing this week, definitely. But yeah, I was sat and crocheted, which is an absolutely brilliant winter activity because I'm making a blanket. And I've got to the stage now where it's sort of big enough that actually I've got a little bit of a blanket on my lap. So that's been quite nice. And while I've been doing that, I've been watching The Handmaid's Tale. Now I have seen this series before. Luckily for me, I have got the absolute worst memory in history. So I'm able to rewatch things, not really remembering what I've seen before. So I have been watching that again for the second time. It's quite long, it's several seasons, very dark, not the sort of thing that I would usually watch. Oh, I've just remembered something. I've forgotten to do something, haven't I? Let's do it quickly and then we'll go back to The Handmaid's Tale. Sorry about this, I'm just so not with it today. Incense and tea. So today I'm burning some good old-fashioned nag champa. I was definitely in the mood for that. I find this one really soothing, and I find it cognitively quite soothing. So if my brain's a bit of a mess, which it is today, then I'll pop that on. And I'm just finishing off the peach tea, which was from Lidl, I think it was. As I always say, it looks like fish food. It's a bit too sweet for me, but it's okay. I just really dilute it. So that's what I'm drinking today. But anyway, yeah, The Handmaid's Tale. So very dark, not the sort of thing I would usually watch in terms of themes. Some not nice themes in it at all, and some really quite brutal scenes and very violent, but really good storyline. And I just really love the different characters, especially June and the strength of June. Now, I guess she doesn't really have a lot of choice, but I think she does an amazing job. And in some ways, with some of the battles I've had with my health over the last sort of couple of years and some of the attitudes I've had to deal with, because the bigger your medical file, unfortunately, the more people seem to dismiss you, which is really unfortunate if you have a connective tissue disorder like me, because lots of things go wrong. But just having that fortitude, and I know you can't compare, obviously, what June goes through is absolutely hideous and it isn't on a par to anything that, you know, I've gone through, but it's still that resolve and that strength. And it just gets me thinking about the strength that we have as women, and the, you know, just the things that we as women have to endure and still endure, you know, especially in some countries. And then it got me just sort of pondering the word witch and reclaiming that word. And we've spoken a bit about the word witch before here and on Instagram and over on my Patreon. And I think it's one of those topics that you can just come back to again and again, because the way we feel about certain words can change. So for a little while, I really didn't sort of associate myself with the word witch, or I couldn't align with it, or I couldn't connect with it, and it felt like it was wrong and it didn't really fit for me. I felt like I was definitely sort of leaning towards more of a druid path, and that is still relevant for me. I very much feel in touch with druidry and it makes a lot of sense to me, but at the end of the day, it is a word, and I realised that actually I can use that word and still have you know, variations and other things that draw me, and actually that just makes me who I am as a witch. And I think it's really important that we reclaim that word. It's been used negatively in so many ways over the years, and it is a powerful word, and women are powerful, people are powerful, and I'm not talking in a sort of, you know, egotistical sort of, I was going to use a name then, but I think that will be divisive, but not in a way that we see from some of our politicians, not that kind of powerful. I'm talking about sort of mastery over the self. I'm talking about that strength really that June has. She's extremely powerful, because even though she's in a position where she is arguably not powerful at all, and she's weak because she's in this vulnerable spot and she's very, very limited as to what she can do, she is powerful because she owns her choices, her decisions, her strength, you know, the times that she cries. And so yeah, when I watch The Handmaid's Tale, I very much get thinking about the topic of witch, and also the whole mother, maid and crone thing, which we've been talking about this week over in the group. And I guess we've just got to that season in the year, haven't we, where there's a lot of sort of quiet reflection going on as we are doing quieter things and we're sitting still. And sometimes we're doing meditative things like crochet. We're watching programs while we crochet. It starts the old cogs going, I think. And then obviously when we're sat down and we are watching things, whether that be documentaries or films and stuff like that, obviously it's thought-provoking, isn't it? You know, much more thought-provoking than being out perhaps walking and doing physical things and sort of being lost in the joy in the moment. So yeah, we have got to that season. Whilst I have been sort of flicking through a few things on YouTube this week, I've noticed there's one advert that comes up again and again. It's a guy, it's for some sort of spiritual service or community. I haven't actually properly listened to the advert, because in the first sort of couple of lines, he uses the term light worker. And every time I see the advert, I then end up, instead of watching the advert, I end up thinking about this term and my brain going on a bit of a journey. What do you think about the term light worker? I personally don't like that term, and I'm really sorry if any of you are watching and you use the term light worker. I don't have any issue whatsoever with the concept. I'm fully on board with the concept. This is just a personal choice, but me personally, I cringe when I hear the term light worker. I find it a bit jarring, if I'm honest. I'm just feeling like it's just a bit wanky, if I'm honest. It's on the same sort of level as healer for me, and the reason I don't like these words in particular, I'm not as fussed about healer as I am light worker, but for me, I've seen them used quite a few times in conjunction with certain characters who clearly have some level of ego going on, in as much as they're using these terms as status. And yes, they are saying that they're going about this work, but I feel like really it's a platform for them to be elevated in some way. And to me, that's not really what a light worker does. It's not really what a healer does. And I feel like there is some element of ego there sometimes, not by everyone that uses these terms. I don't have the answers though. Like, I don't know what we would use instead of light worker. I mean, we could use spirit worker, but that can be a little bit vague, can't it? And people can think that that means something different. It can be a bit ambiguous. I wonder about light worker. Is it excluding darkness? Is it one of those sort of like toxic positive words or phrases that we use? And as a witch, I'm always thinking about themes of balance. I'm always thinking about duality. I'm always thinking about opposites. I'm always thinking about the things that we need to have in place all the time. So I don't see darkness as a bad thing, but that doesn't mean to say that I necessarily want that excluded and, you know, it all just has to be about the light and the positive and the... I know I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here in terms of what light worker is. And I don't know, we change, don't we? We chop and change with words and how we feel about them. You know, an example is the fact that I couldn't get on with the word witch at all for several... Well, yeah, I'd say it was probably a couple of years, maybe not several years, but after having used that term for witch, I suddenly went off it for quite a long time and couldn't bring myself to use it. And then I just changed again. I suppose we are each many versions of ourselves, aren't we, over the years? And I feel like it's the same thing with words and what they mean to us. some people would say to me, well, that's obviously some work that you need to do on yourself. There's obviously something about Lightworker that triggers something in you. I disagree. I think there are some words that we just don't get along with. So for example, lots of people don't like the word moist, which doesn't bother me in the slightest. I don't feel that they've got to get over that and that they have to accept or like that word. It's language. So some words to our own personal ears are going to be pleasing, some words aren't. And yeah, for me, it does have those sort of deeper connotations. And I think about the few characters that I've seen over the years who use that in a not very positive way and are using Lightworker to sort of propel themselves and make themselves seem powerful and have status and seem better than others. And so, yeah, that's obviously where this comes from, and it doesn't help. It's just a little bit of cringe. It's not really awful, but I just wouldn't use that word. I wouldn't use that word, and I wouldn't use the word healer necessarily when it came to things like Reiki, because I consider myself a conduit. Now, I've just had a thought in my head, would I call myself a healer if I was helping someone with my clinical aromatherapy? And the answer is perhaps yes. That does seem a little bit more appropriate because there is some level of skill being used there. So it's a very, very open and fluid topic, I think. There is a lot to be said about this, and there are just some words we don't like. So for example, and it's not really a word, but it's the spelling of the word gorgeous. So when I see people spelling it Gawjus, gorgeous, I absolutely cannot stand that. And there's a particular word for poo that I just absolutely cannot stand. Do I have to get over that? No, they're just words that I just don't align with and just don't accept and just don't really like the sound of them. So I'm absolutely fine with the concept. I'm okay with the idea that millions of people, perhaps myself included, have been brought to the earth at the same time to help try and raise the vibration, and perhaps not even that so much to help empower people raise their own vibrations, which I suppose is raising the vibration of the earth, isn't it? But that just sounds so grand. But yeah, I do believe that we have people who's, are just complete light. So to go back to that word, but for some reason I just cannot get on with the word Lightworker. It just feels a bit strange to me. What do you think? How do you feel about that word? Is there a word that you really, really don't like? Is there a word that makes you cringe when you hear it? Do you have words of various sort of varying levels of cringe? I don't know. I definitely do. Like gorgeous is like maximum cringe for me. Lightworker isn't so bad, but it's just not a word I like. So another story from the animal kingdom this week. There has been lots of this in the last few weeks, which has been really lovely. But this week we've got octopuses punching fish. So you might have seen this in the news. It was previously thought that octopuses hunted alone. Now we know that they actually hunt alongside fish, so they can be foraging in tandem together. And basically there's video footage of an octopus that punched a fish because it wasn't cooperating. So let's just humour me, and let's just enter a fantasy world for a moment, shall we? Imagine a world where you can just literally punch anyone that is not cooperating with you. What a wonderful world that would be. No, I'm joking. Violence is obviously never the answer. But when I'm thinking of this in my head, I'm thinking of this in a real sort of like Tom and Jerry kind of way, real slapstick, just punching someone in the face and then falling over, and that being sort of the extent of it. No trauma, no injuries, but anyway. We can't do that. We can't go around punching people, but octopuses can. So yeah, absolutely fabulous. And it's just totally changed the way they think about octopuses, or octopi. Is it octopi? Yeah, probably. Very intelligent creatures, unlike myself. But yeah, they've learned a little bit more about them. I find the creature octopus absolutely fascinating. They are just so clever, and they're up there for me with giant squid, which are absolutely terrifying. If you've ever listened to the stories of giant squid grabbing humans and pulling them down into the depths, that has happened. our sea life is just absolutely fascinating, and definitely has a bit of a dark twist to some of it. Some of the things that you read, the shocked fish swims away. He's like, I'm not hanging out here anymore. And yeah, so that has been the highlight of all the animal related stories for me this week. And as a result, I've been dipping in and out of this book, which is called The Wheel of the Year with Animals as Guides by Lady Wolf. Check out my beautiful bookmark that my daughter Tabitha made, as you can see, when she was really, really tiny. She's just about to come up for 17 now, so that tell you how old that is. But yeah, this fabulous book, all sorts of interesting bits and bobs, animals for the different Sabbats. Now, because I haven't read it, I can't see for sure whether there is one for every Sabbat or whether she has just given some of the animals as examples. I think she's just done some, like 6 rather than 8, or she's done like 5 rather than 8. There is all sorts of information, magical correspondences, stories about different cultures and groups and how they felt about animals. Lots of interesting information in there, lots of practical work, lots of rituals and ceremonies and all sorts of things. I haven't started it from the beginning and read through, I've just been dipping in and out, but fabulous book so far. So that is definitely something that I would like to read over the winter. I'm making that one of my little sort of tasks that I'm going to set myself. But I thought, before we go on to doing some cards, I thought we would just have a reading out of this book, our favourite book, A Year of Pagan Prayer by Barbara Nolan. So if you're new to the Witching Week, then every now and then, not every month, but every now and then we'll have a passage or a poem or something out of this book which takes you through the year and has lots of readings. It's very much focused on sort of like classical paganism. So this is actually called A Source Book of Poems, Hymns and Invocations from 4,000 Years of Pagan History. So it's absolutely beautiful. So I'm just going to read you the beginning part of October, the introduction to October. So it says, October opens with the 2nd annual festival in honour of Mars, and then continues with another celebration of the 2 goddesses. The ancient Greek festival of the Thesmophoria. This mixture of the great war god and the famous goddesses of agriculture may seem incongruous, but in parts of the ancient world, the agricultural season coincided with campaigning season. So Mars is a planter as well as a warrior, and a reaper of both grain and men. Here in the waning days of the year is time to send off the spirits of vitality and fertility with a joyous last hurrah to tide them over until we meet again in the coming year. So it says October the 15th, October Mars. During the Ides of October, the ancient Romans held horse races and offered up a sacrifice to Mars in an unusual rite that may have predated the founding of Rome itself. Nowadays, we can offer prayers, candles and cakes to the war gods Mars and Ares in order to calm the fertile but fierce gods' turbulence as we enter the season of winter. And there's a lovely poem in here. And it says, it's from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, and he was alive in the 1800s. And it says, in this poem, the planet Mars takes on the attributes of the deity with which it's been intimately associated for millennia. It is a paean to the spirit of fortitude and endurance the warrior god embodies. So I'm just going to read this poem to you. There is no light in heaven or earth, but the cold light of stars, and the first watch of night is given to the red planet Mars. Is it the tender star of love, the star of love and dreams? Oh no, from that blue tent above, a hero's armour gleams. And earnest thoughts within me rise when I behold afar, suspended in the evening skies, the shield of that red star. O star of strength, I see thee stand and smile upon my pain. Thou beckonest with my mailed hand, and I am strong again. The star of the unconquered will, he rises in my breast, serene and resolute and still and calm and self-possessed. And thou too, whosoever, I can never say that, is whosoever thou art, that readest this brief psalm, as one by one thy hopes depart, be resolute and calm. O fear not in a world like this, and thou shalt know ere long, now how sublime a thing it is to suffer and be strong. So the word is whosoever, I can never say it, they've taken the V out basically. My brain just can't do it today. So there we go, really beautiful poem there. I thought we would just take a brief look at Mars and the strength and the will and the determination of Mars just before we do some cards and we head into the witching week. So let me know in the comments what you've all been up to, how things are looking for you and how you feel about October. I'm really, really looking forward to it. It's a lovely, lovely month. Right, so I've picked 4 cards today. 4 felt like the number. So we have the Chariot, we have the King of Swords, we have the Three of Wands, Swords, and we have the Knight of Wands. And I feel like that line from the book, or those thoughts, be strong and resolute, kind of is reflected in this reading actually. And I think it's always very, very interesting that if I do a reading and then I pick some cards, quite often the message is there as well. So be strong and resolute. So you're flying along on the chariot of life, the path of life, and you are being pulled this way and that. So I think that message is there, isn't it? To hang on, to be strong, to grip those reins and to be resolute that you are going to end up eventually exactly where you're meant to be. And as we travel along that path, the message here very much is to use your intelligence, but very much use your maturity. So I think some of us sometimes we can be quite cutting with the deliverance of our words, you know, if we're not happy, or something is not pleasing us. Sometimes, you know, if you're an intelligent person, there is the opportunity, isn't there, to sort of dismantle or take other people down with your words when you're frustrated. Not necessarily to be unkind. I'm not talking of going out of your way to be unkind here, but the Suit of Swords is obviously always sort of pointing to, you know, as well as those airy sort of mental powers and the powers of intellect in our brain and communication, but also conflict. So be wary this week of the words that you deliver and the words that are delivered back to you as well. You know, it's very easy, even as someone, and I'm thinking of one person in particular here who I know loves to deliver cutting words, but isn't so good at receiving them. And the message is always with the Three of Swords to just consider, you know, what the other person is going through. If they say something that is, you know, really quite hurtful, yes, I totally get that, being hurt, but sometimes you have to consider what the other person is going through and why they are behaving in that way. And if the answer is it's because you're dealing out the harsh words, then you need to be a bit honest with yourself and accept that, you know, that's why. But I would say that the true bit of advice here, the last card that I pulled out, which feels like the sort of delivering piece of advice, is more than anything is to just be bold and courageous. And I don't mean be bold and courageous with your words, I just mean in a situation that is causing you to be strong and resolute. That's the best thing that you can do. So do the difficult things, do the right thing, be bold, be courageous, maybe make a decision that you would otherwise not usually take. You know, find that courage within yourself, be strong, be resolute, be bold, be courageous, and just watch your mouth, but use those powers of intelligence, you know, but use them wisely, use them maturely. Don't settle for sort of squabbling with other people and for delivering harsh words, because at the end of the day you have to live with that, and the journey of life is much easier actually when we move along it with integrity and trying to sort of be kind. So that is the reading for today. I'm actually going to pick you one out of the Whispering Woods as well, because I'm enjoying these so much, and I just feel like they've got that lovely sort of autumn energy. Lovely woodland deck. It's really cold today. I was sat down here till about 11 o'clock last night working, and I got cold, but I didn't realise just how much, and I got into bed and I did not manage to warm up last night. So I've had, I reckon, an hour's sleep, so I'm really feeling it today. Okay, let's pick one of these and see what we have. A message for us all. Okay, so we have got risk. Learn to grow wherever you are planted. So again, that goes back to being bold and being courageous. Risk. So yeah, very, very clever. I always cut when I'm shuffling. I cut the video and just put in an edit there because I like to shuffle them for quite a long time and concentrate on what I'm doing. So it's not that I've set the cards up and that, you know, I've picked the cards so that they match the reading, for example. What comes out is what comes out, but I just like to, it's not even about shuffling because I shuffle them before we record as well. It's about just tuning into them for a decent amount of time so that the ones that I pick out are the ones that we have. And I just think it would make the video necessarily long and a little bit boring for you while I'm sat there with my eyes closed picking 4 cards. You know, I take my time with these things. So that's what we've got for today. Wishing you an absolutely wonderful week. Thank you to everybody on my Patreon who has been supporting me. I love you guys so much and I really appreciate your support, and I'm just so excited for October. If you feel like joining us, you'd be made very, very welcome. Yeah, come and have a look and see what it is we do. All right, lots of love and blessings. Have a fantastic week. Enjoy the transition into October. Bye.